it wasn't raising taxes that got us out of this situation. The economy was recovering. The Republican budget from the previous biennium did not raise taxes. We balanced the budget without raising taxes, and that basically righted Minnesota's economy and got us out of this budget situation where we had deficits. So the taxes weren't the answer in this situation, and I think that the case we were making at the time was we don't need this. We could have spent $1 billion more this biennium than last without raising one penny of taxes. And that shows you that taxes weren't the answer to the problem.
Can I take the bait?
Sure.
It's not as though we didn't get something for the spending that we did. And one of the areas in the budget that I have becoming increasingly concerned with is the cost of higher education. And if our Minnesota business infrastructure is going to be successful going forward, and Governor Plenty used to say it, we're never going to be the cheapest, so you better be the best. And if our businesses are going to compete going forward, they are going to have the most skilled, talented workforce that this state can provide. And that is one of the roles of state government, is to try and do that upfront training and skill enhancement for Minnesota's workers so that when they're done with their whatever kind of post-high school education they're going to have, they're prepared to be productive employees of our business community. And that is an important state investment. And I do think that's what last session was about, and I think that's where we have taken a different fork in the road than Wisconsin. In Wisconsin, they are cutting K-12 and higher education. In Minnesota, we're putting money in. We funded all-day kindergarten. We put huge new money onto the K-12 formula. We put enough money into higher education that we got a tuition freeze out of the University of Minnesota and out of MnSCU. Those are smart investments. To say that we somehow just squandered the money, I don't think is accurate. Remember, the first $600 million that we raised had to fill the deficit that we were facing, that was handed off to the Speaker and I after the November election. The first thing we had to do was fill a $600 million hole. And then we went to invest in the things we think that Minnesota is going to make Minnesota prosper. Investments in early childhood, all-day kindergarten, K-12, higher education, and being a stronger partner with our local units of government. We restored that partnership at the local level with not only with our school districts, but with our cities and counties where most services get delivered. And the state needs to be a strong partner there. This notion that we can just demonize local government, that they somehow are the problem, when that's where most services are actually performed. I'm proud of the fact we've restored that partnership with our local governments and schools.
Can I take the bait? Part of the challenge here is we equate spending with accomplishing a goal. And with higher ed, for example, and I've had this conversation with President Kaler and others, the inflation growth of cost in higher education is the highest of anything we do. We talk a lot about health care and how the inflation costs are making health care unaffordable for people. We've got to figure out how to do that. Higher education is worse than that. And what do? We come to the legislature and say, well, the taxpayers should pay more. I asked President Kaler, and I think every operator of a higher education institution ought to answer this. Why is it that today ordinary people, middle class people, cannot afford higher education? It used to be affordable. What has happened in the cost structure of higher education to make it unaffordable to the average Minnesotan today? We should be asking that question rather than saying, well, okay, your costs have gone up so high that nobody can afford it, so we'll come to the legislature and ask for more money so we can afford to keep going. There needs to be more questions asked on the cost side of this thing. And just spending more money, which is what the Democrats did in their budget, doesn't solve that problem. And that's the thing we need to get at.